Like, how many properties did you have when you lost it all?
Roughly 10, and a handful of them went down. So foreclosures, IRS liens, credit cards, everything.
Everything.
Done.
So you lost it all. Then what happened?
And I made 30,000 phone calls a year, cold calls, for about 10 years. And
wow.
Just grinded it out 1 year at a time.
Man, the sheer volume of calls you've made, cold calls, not even talking to people for most of the time.
That's it.
And I just see so many people today that want to get into real estate, whatever, section of real estate it is, and they're just not willing to put in the work. You had $10 million of equity in your properties. You're essentially a deca millionaire, and you were only making $150,000 a year. So, like, a lot of real estate investors are worth a lot of money, with equity, but equity doesn't pay the bills.
No.
I keep telling people this. Cash flow pays the bills. Equity does not. What's up, wealth builders? Today, I have got a commercial real estate titan. This guy has over $400 million of assets under management. He's raised over $100 million to buy these warehouses, these storage facilities, and so much more. And he was actually raised right here in my city of Las Vegas. I got Jeremiah Boucher. What's up?
What's up, Ryan?
And I want to call you Bobby Boucher so bad.
Okay.
Dude, you don't sound like you're from Vegas. You kind of got an East Coast accent.
Yeah. I grew up as a kid in New Hampshire, moved out here, parents split. So I've been here since I was 6.
Wow. So you've been doing commercial real estate now for how long?
Quit college in 2001, right after 9/11, went to UNLV and UNR, and got into residential, was doing what you were doing, buying, selling. The market exploded and lost it all right there in 07, 08.
Like, how many deals, how many properties did you have when you lost it all?
I was a realtor. Everybody was a realtor, right? Yep. And then just like The Big Short, man, it was coming, and I had a feeling it was coming. I was already wanting to get into commercial, and I had roughly 10, and a handful of them went down. So foreclosures, IRS liens, credit cards, everything done.
So you lost it all. Then what happened?
Kind of camped out in a buddy's house. He didn't know it for a while, and lived in his pool house up in Anthem in Vegas.
Yep.
But he was a good guy. He helped me out, let me stay there for a while. Then bounced around and got an office. And I found mobile home park investing through a course online.
Yep.
Called the guy up out of the blue. Credit was crashed. And I said, man, I love this asset class. I think there's a lot of opportunity. And I said, what can I do to help you guys? And he was just starting a fund. So he gave me a list, and I made 30,000 phone calls a year, cold calls, for about 10 years. And
wow,
just grinded it out 1 year at a time.
Wow. You know what's crazy? And I want to talk about what that was like here in a minute, but man, the sheer volume of calls you've made, cold calls, not even talking to people for most of the time.
That's
right?
it.
You're just calling, dialing, hoping somebody picks up. Then 99% of them say, no, why are you calling me? And then there's just 1% that's like, hey, yeah, actually, I might be interested.
Yeah.
And, you got to develop your skills and perseverance and everything else. And I just see so many people today that want to get into real estate, whatever, section of real estate it is. And they're just not willing to put in the work.
Yeah.
What made you do that for 10 years straight? Like, how was it throughout that?
Yeah. I mean, when I started in sales, there was really no internet. The internet wasn't even going on in 2000, 2001. I didn't know anything else to do. I worked for my dad's construction company. He had a paving company. I thought I was going to go that route. And we butted heads. And I said, when I read that course, I'm like, real estate is the ticket. If I can get in, no money down, or own my own assets. But then I figured out quickly, I don't know anybody. I don't have any money. So sales was just the natural path. So I was a door knocker, ADT salesman for security systems here on the east side of town.
Yep.
I did that for about 8 months. I worked with a bunch of ex-cons. We were knocking doors, getting yelled at, dogs going after us, people on drugs, people invite me into their house to do weird shit stuff. So it was, made some sales, and I'm like, okay, well, now I got a little bit of confidence. I can talk to people and I could sell a little bit. And I jumped into residential, and I had the same problem. I looked like I was 13 years old when I started at 21.
Yeah.
And I needed an edge or a niche. So what I did is I actually I did a lot of door knocking and cold calls, but I advertised in the Bugle. It was a gay magazine here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because it was a niche. I needed an edge. You know?
So you're going after the gay guys?
Yeah. I was bodybuilding at the time. So
was it a picture of you just shirtless? Like, hey, dude, I want to buy your house or what?
No, I didn't go that route. But it was just me and one other guy, and I'm not gay, but it was great. I was served that community. They had a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
And the community was growing here in Vegas.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so that really helped me at least get enough cash. That was my first couple big sales to give me some money to figure out I don't want to do residential real estate. But the cold calling came from, I took some sales training with some old school sales trainer, Mike Ferry.
Yeah. For realtors.
For realtors. Yeah. And that's what I did. I just learned if you don't get up and cold call, then you really didn't work at all. And it's been a blessing and a curse because I really didn't learn marketing, but man, I was able to refine my skills. It was like religious for me, like every day.
Just sheer volume.
Yeah. Hammering it. Yeah. So that was great because rejection, I mean, getting over rejection, I'm sure, you teach your guys that is a key component, not taking anything personal, not getting too high or too low and just sticking with it. In the first 2 years, nothing really happened. I made 15 grand in 2009 and I called 300 days that year. I referred one dealer, signed one deal, and I was almost sleeping in my office on Eastern. I mean, it was a rough time. But then the momentum started coming back with the market in 10, 11. So it started to pay off over time. But like we said before the show here is just people are impatient. They don't really want to actually do the work.
Yeah. So 10 was when I got started and I did not want to do the work. I was one of those people. I actually, I was playing baseball, so I wasn't like super concerned about being a realtor or getting listings and stuff. But I mean, I got my license in 2010 out here, same thing. And you know how bad it was out here. Yeah. Like prices were $100,000 for a nice house.
Yeah.
So commissions were low, even if you sold it. Everybody was BK'd. They couldn't get loans. They didn't have credit. It was nuts. And I just remember after a couple of years, I gave up. I literally did. I was like, this ain't for me, man. It wasn't until 5 years later that I got into house flipping that I got back in the game. But even I didn't put in the work. It was hard, man.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's for everybody. Yeah. I think for me, I didn't have a purpose around being a realtor. There was it just felt empty for me. Yeah. Some people love it. That's not my style at all. So I had the same feelings. I'm like, I cannot stay in.
But you had success though. You were putting in the work.
Yeah, it was a grind though. Everything was a push. And I was like, I can't keep this up. And I can't differentiate myself. I can't cold call my way out of this. Yeah. So that's when I really focused on commercial investing.
So what year was that?
That was, right at 08. At 07, I knew I was ready to wrap it up with realty. Yeah. But then the market, everything just collapsed right then.
Yeah. So how did commercial real estate get started? Did you do the same thing? You just start cold calling people or what?
Well, that was it. When I called those guys up in Colorado, they were selling that course and they were opening their fund. It was really just, I got a credible buyer and I was trying to flip the deals, kind of like you guys do with the house flipping. Yeah. But it was just people were trying to backdoor me and go behind my back when I had a seller and they would try to buy direct from the seller. Yeah. And I didn't have any money or credit. So these guys ended up being real stable for me. And instead of bickering about trying to get a higher commission or fee, I just stuck with this one vehicle that I can depend on these guys, just feed them deals. I know I'll get paid. And they teach me the business too. They started seeing, damn, this guy's giving me 5, 10, 15 deals a week to look at. Wow. And they really invested a little bit of time into me to help teach me the business.
And you were with those guys for 10 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So really just doing sales, learning the business, making commissions on deals.
Yeah. Flying all over the country, crazy stories, like flying to Texas, I met some lady that was whacked out on coke and she had a mobile home park and her and her maintenance man were all up to all this trouble. Yeah. And and drunk sellers and just people passing away. And it was a wild ride going across the country. They tell you one thing, you show up, I have very little money. I'm meeting them at the property and then their rent rolls half off. Like, that we don't have we don't have occupancy. We're 50% vacant. And I'm like, I just wasted my entire weekend.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So at what point did you go out on your own? I mean, you developed your skills with these guys. At what point did you start raising capital yourself and taking down deals yourself and all that?
Yes, about 5-6 years in, I needed that one deal that was going to help me get over the hump. And I found, I always was pushing for seller financing. And as soon as I found the one property where I met somebody in New York, a family, an older family, they didn't want to sell. It was too pricey. And eventually, though, the husband got sick and I was the logical option. They trusted me. They liked me. So I got in with 15 grand down. It was 3% of the purchase price. I had 10 grand saved up, borrowed 5 grand from my dad and got into that asset. It gave me 3 grand a month and it ended up giving me 5 to 10 grand a month over time. But it was that one deal that at least changed my life where I wasn't struggling to get a car payment made, struggling to pay the rent. So that gave me the safety there, but that took a long time. But ultimately it was finding these one-off deals and meeting people at conferences, sharing this mobile home park investment asset class that was pretty new. They took a shot on me because I really was passionate. I had a little bit of experience flipping all these deals and just one syndication at a time, raising 100, 200, 500 grand over time and building up that track record. It was slow and steady. But these guys, I got to a point where I realized they were getting more private equity and I knew I didn't have any control over these assets where I'd get a fee or I'd get a 10 to 30% equity position in the properties.
Yep.
And I knew that they were kind of going a different direction and they were going to get institutional. And my destiny was out of my hands. I didn't have any control at all. I said, it's time to part ways. So we did an equity swap where everything that I had in the Midwest with these guys, they tallied it up. Everything we had out West in my hometown here in Vegas, we tallied it up and then swapped our equity. So they bought me out there and I bought into these here.
Wow. So you ended up owning all yours 100%. They got yours 100%.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get a dime out of the transaction, but that was the first time I could actually get a loan, a commercial loan. And the irony in that was that Bank of America foreclosed me in 2008. And then in 2016, I was able to get a $10 million loan, but it was a CMBS loan, but with Bank of America.
Yeah.
But it was asset backed. So the fact that I had a little bit of experience and I had some equity in the properties, I was able to get that loan. And that was a $65,000 a month payment. And at the time that was like that for me, I'm like, okay, here we go.
And then, so you had these assets now, you go out on your own. And then what was that like?
It was rough because I was still cold calling. I was still pushing to grow the business. So I just threw in some people that had some apartment management experience.
Yeah.
And it was a shit show.
The operations of it.
Yeah. I mean, these are like we were talking about C-class communities on the east side of town. And then there was some up near Reno and mining towns, and they were just really rough tenants. A lot of domestic violence, a lot of drugs, a lot of deferred maintenance and trash everywhere. So I really didn't focus on the operations, and I didn't appreciate how much operations matters. And this is really,
they were doing it all. You never had to worry about it.
Exactly. Yeah. I'd help them set up a manager, but it was all my responsibility after that. So, I mean, it was their responsibility. So I just stuck in some people as a placeholder.
Yeah.
And that got out of hand. And what I learned from that lesson is sometimes you got to slow down and don't focus on growth rather than trying to just grow at all costs.
Yeah.
And I think I'm very similar to you where I have a lot of ideas. I want to grow. I want to push the company.
Yep.
But that was not the right phase for me. I had to actually cultivate what I had instead of hunting for more.
Yeah. 100%. So you had to basically learn a whole new skill now because for basically, 15, 20 years, all you're doing is sales.
That's it.
And learning how to analyze deals and all that and structure deals.
Yeah.
But you had no operations experience.
No, I was not a CEO. I was a deal maker. I was a promoter.
Yeah. So how did you end up getting out of that? Because it seems like, a lot of things probably went very wrong.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure cash got really tight.
Oh, yes.
So what ended up happening?
Yeah, pain. Right. Pain makes you change.
You're like, dude, I got it all. I got all these assets. This is great.
Yeah.
Why aren't they making money?
Yeah. Oh my, exactly. So the market was shifting in 2019. It was starting to really peak up because interest rates were dropping pre-COVID, right at the edge of COVID. I tallied up the equity. It was $10 million of equity that I never touched. It was the 10 years of funneling back to deals to grow the equity. And I was getting 150 grand as a personal salary. And that was the only return on equity, 1.5%.
Yep.
I'm like, this is not sustainable. And I'm basically bought a job.
You know what's, just before you even continue, I just want to make this clear because I don't think people probably caught that. You had $10 million of equity in your properties. You're essentially a deca millionaire, right? And you were only making $150,000 a year. So you clearly weren't living like a baller, you know, like you're making 10 grand a month basically.
Right.
And, you know, you're a single guy. So it's like, you know, I guess not crazy at that time, but still 10 grand a month for somebody who's worth $10 million. Like I think people don't really understand this, especially when it comes to real estate investors. Like a lot of real estate investors are worth a lot of money, you know, with equity, but equity doesn't pay the bills.
No.
I keep telling people this, cash flow pays the bills. Equity does not.
Yeah. And you're 3 months away from being foreclosed on.
Yeah. If for some reason the asset stops performing, doesn't matter what it's worth.
Yeah. And I think in commercial real estate, I see that's the biggest mistake is that you make a little bit of money, people go out and blow it, and then you have a major problem, capital improvement, you know, water line goes down, power line goes down, fire, you're stuck.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go back to that 2008. I mean, fear was driving me at that point. I'm not going to sleep on a couch again here. So that's the time I knew I wanted to cash out. But the lesson that really correlated over for me to focus on operations and really cultivating what I had was I had two main employees running the assets, and they knew I was wanting to sell. And because I had such a poor culture and because I wasn't leading from the front, I was running around and not really in the business. They really leveraged that situation and wanted to get their piece. Yeah. So it was somewhat of an extortion of if I don't get 50 grand, you know, on this in the next couple of weeks, because I know you're getting an exit, I'm going to leave. And I'm like, I honestly don't have 50 grand. I'm making 150 grand a year and we are tight on cash. Plus, you know, that's not the game I want to play. Yeah. So it's like, I want team players. I want us to all go after this. And that was the point where I said, you know what? I don't care. I'm willing to lose it all, whatever it takes. You know, just you could take off. I'll figure it out. So I jumped over there, and I can't speak Spanish. I hired a Spanish woman that was in the properties, and we worked it out and collected the rent. And then a good buddy of mine that heard me speak at a conference, we reconnected, and he just started coming in and helping. He was in the construction industry doing flips. We played football together, and the guy was so selfless. He's like, I want to learn the business. I love what you're doing. And I was pushing myself and growing. And a lot of my friends I grew up with, you know, a lot of them, I mean, they're not living great lives. Yeah. A good portion are dead or just living a very, very challenging, depressing life. And this guy wanted to get out of that. And he just started to give without asking in return and helped me turn it around, make some improvements, help with the management. And luckily, I got that contract. I got the deal in contract to sell to a bigger buyer. And of course, the more you want the money, the farther it pulls away. I needed to close for tax reasons. And it took like almost 9 months to close that deal. And it just also taught me the more you want something, the more it's going to just pull away from you. So I had to let go. Even in those, it's easy to say that, but in those desperate situations where this could be life-changing, you know, it's so hard to not get your emotions tied up that I want this thing so bad. But I was able to sit back, be calm with the whole situation, and it closed the last day of the year. And that was like that's when I wrote the book the year after. It was the first time I validated that all this work paid off.
Finding Your Edge. Jeremiah Boucher. It's on Amazon, right?
It is. Yeah. I did the Audible. And
cool. It's a thick book. I was telling him, you wrote it all yourself, no ghostwriter, got some workbook type things. But
yeah, tell the story.
Yeah, it's great.
Thanks, man.
How much did you end up getting paid from that deal?
$10 million.
Yeah. So you had 10 million cash deposited into your bank when that deal closed.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was nice. It was
nice.
Yeah.
So tell me this. Which situation was harder? Was it harder when you had 10 properties and you went under back in 2008? Or was it harder knowing that, dude, I've got $10 million of equity, but I could still lose it all if I don't close these deals?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think when I lost everything the first time, it was hard, but I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And I knew I was never going back to working a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So I would say, the second one where now you have something to lose.
Yeah.
And now I'm on this point where everything I feel so much pressure to finish and actually achieve something that I've been working so hard for.
Yeah.
That was a tougher time for me.
Yeah. So at that time, what? You're 30, 35, 38?
Yeah. Mid 30s.
Yeah. And you're finally like rich for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, not on paper, but like you have options now. You got money, you got liquid cash and everything, which is like a dream for real estate investors, right? They're never liquid.
I know.
So what did you do?
Well, I learned from that first lesson that I'm not blowing the cash.
Yeah.
I didn't buy anything. I have a very modest car, rented my house, I just... You
didn't even want to buy a personal residence? You just rented your personal? Wow.
Yeah. I rented a condo at the Martin and just cheap, easy, and just went in and took every dime I had, put it into some investments in real estate and my own investments. So I had some tax losses to offset it. So I didn't blow all that in taxes. And then also every other dime, I started to transition into self-storage, and I put every dime back into more assets and the management. I started to actually hire some quality talent. That was the first time.
Team.
In operations, finance and construction. I mean, really digging into it.
So at that point, it sounds like that deal was in Vegas?
Yeah, that's in Nevada. Everything was in Nevada.
Yeah, all in Nevada. And it was a mix of mobile home parks.
Yeah, and an apartment complex. I had one apartment complex, 4 parks.
Okay. And then you were like, look, I'm done with that. I want to focus on self-storage.
Yeah, well, I started to see the market shifting where the parks were getting real attractive to sophisticated investors, private equity. The values went through the roof.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have the capital base. I was still learning to raise capital. So I said, I have to compete in a different arena, a different game. So that's where storage, I could see there was these mom and pop owned storage facilities outside of these bigger cities, but they were in small cities. And I think there was a lot of value there. They're being mismanaged. They weren't advertising. They don't put any money back into them. It was very similar to the mobile home parks.
Yeah.
So I went right back after that asset class and COVID hit. And then all of our facilities got filled up. I was doing some development too. Storage facilities are pretty easy to build.
Yeah. How long does it typically take?
Depends on your permits, but if you actually have the land and permits, you could do one in 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a box.
Yeah, it's a Lego kit. I mean, it's a prefabricated metal building that they ship out there, and you stick it on your slab.
Yeah, like, does it work with, there's already, you just know the dimensions and everything, and so there's manufacturers that are like, hey, this is our 10 by 10. How many 10 by 10s do you want? This is a 10 by 30. How many you want?
Yeah. There's a lot of good manufacturers that'll walk you through it, but your civil engineer is going to to it. You're going to get as much square footage as you can, ideally. And then they ship it out there to the specs that you built it out to.
So you knew you wanted to get into storage, and how did that end up playing out?
Well, again, scaling fast, out of control. We bought, I think 20 something facilities as we started to ramp up in 21. And then
you bought facilities that were existing, or you built them?
Both. So the great thing was this model of adding value was buying existing that had a little extra land and then popping on more buildings on the existing land. That was a real value add.
Yeah.
So it was fast. It was scaling fast, back of the napkin analysis of these deals, trying to find things.
Yeah. We could fit another 100,000 square feet here. Let's do it.
Yeah, like 30,000, 40,000. Yeah, these would be under that 180,000, 70,000 in total. So it was below the big REITs or the big private equity firms.
Got it.
And then COVID just started flooding in all the people, and storage went through the roof.
Yeah.
We were raising revenue 20% a year, rent growth for 2 years. Our rents went up 40%. And I thought that was how it always worked.
We're going to grow 20% every year. This is awesome.
Yeah, in real estate. Yeah, it's unheard of. So investors were happy. We were happy. Operations was out of control.
So at that point, you were raising capital to buy all these facilities.
That's when I opened up my first fund. So that is what I did also. I seeded the first fund right after I sold the portfolio, $10 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put over $1 million in my own fund and joined a couple investing groups here in town, Tiger 21 and some other ones.
Yeah.
And really, because now I qualified. At the time, it was 10 million to get in.
Did you join YPO or anything?
I didn't join YPO.
Okay.
Some other commercial real estate around the country, networking groups.
Okay.
And yeah, that now I was able to learn, what does family offices, what do accredited, like institutional style investors or professional investors want?
Mm-hmm.
And that forced me to understand how to pitch, how to actually have a quality investment offering, and learn how to start a fund where you're in compliance and you can advertise and raise capital.
Yeah. Okay. So you're doing that, you're raising capital, you're buying or building storage units. And then was that just the strategy the last, 5-6 years?
Yeah. Until it's not, right? Until you start to see that storage doesn't grow 20% a year.
Okay.
It grows.
So were you writing out your pro formas expecting that to make the numbers work, or?
Yeah, it's a good question. It was more, I thought market rents were at, $15 a foot annually, and we're at 10, you can raise and get to $14, $15 pretty quickly. Storage doesn't work that way. It's not like an apartment complex where people are going to pay market rents right out of the gate. You got to get out a lot of these older tenants, and then it takes a time to attract the newer tenants. And then the market was going the other way, where we had to give concessions, like free rent, a lot of first month free, maybe second month free, discounted rents. So in the models, they weren't really capturing all that rent that was the market rent. Yeah, you can get there eventually, but that timeline to get there is not like multifamily, where you can typically raise the rents right away.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard anyone talk about that.
Yeah, so that attrition, it's slow. It's slow to get there. And then the marketing cost, as the market shifts, self-storage is a retail business. I mean, that's what people...
Yeah, self-storage is more like a real business than anything else.
Yes.
Right? Like a rental property is like, I mean, it's a business, and an apartment is a business, but it's more like real estate than business.
Exactly.
Right? To me, a self-storage is like, no, we got to actually like run campaigns and different things. Like it's run more like a typical, I don't want to say mom and pop, but like a retail business.
It is. Yeah. You got to treat it that way. And there's an advantage in that, because people don't want to do it, and you see good opportunities because it's tough to manage, especially if you're under the bigger size facilities where these big management companies are not going to manage your facility. You get some half-assed employee in there playing solitaire and not paying attention, right? Not collecting. But then at the flip side is if you can, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot.
Did you partner up with the big boxes and have them do it? Or what'd you do?
I did. I built a relationship with one of the biggest REITs in the country there in storage. And, candidly, I would like a big exit. I would like to someday, get that sale and get another nice exit. But the market shifted, and that's not the direction it's going right now. The remote managed model, where you don't have anyone there, like we're pushing that, we're innovating through that, and the big institutions aren't there yet. So we actually don't have a manager at every site.
Wow.
And that's how we're able to reduce costs on these assets, bigger margin, and working with Philippine call centers and working with maintenance teams through tech to make sure everything's maintained.
Yeah. So you guys are just basically, there's no one working there. People, how do they sign up? Like, tell me that. Like, I get once they're in, you just get a card or whatever and you go to your thing.
Yeah, I mean, COVID transformed that as well, where even the older grandmother in Maine, a very rural part of the Northeast, they know how to use the QR code. They know how to call. They know how to hit the website now. And we make it super simple so they can rent in 3 or 4 minutes. Plus, we have the call center.
Wow. So somebody would just walk up and be like, I wonder what these cost. They scan a QR code, says, hey, we got 5 available. Here's the prices.
That's it.
And then they can click buy and they can go get the unit right now.
That's it. Here's your unit number. Here's your gate code. Wow. And then we also have the call center. That was a game changer for us in building that out, where we have really friendly call center attendants and they just walk them through it. Like, give me your credit card. Here's your unit number. And a lot of people don't want to use a QR code. So that was really helpful for us.
Yeah. Storage is just nice in that it's kind of in between. It's not like a normal business where you have so much just normal business stuff, employees,
yes,
inventory, all these different things. It's like, yeah, people just kind of service themselves and They're in and out.
And not a lot of repairs or improvements.
Maintenance is basically nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing. You got pavement, you got metal buildings and concrete slabs. There's not a lot there.
Yeah.
It's a nice business. A lot of people have came into it recently.
Yeah. But when a lot of people realize something's undervalued, it eventually corrects.
Yep.
And so how is it today?
Yeah, it's oversupplied in a lot of the states and a lot of areas, especially the Sunbelt states. A lot of developers came in and they pumped up a ton of units.
Yeah.
So you got to be real strategic on where you buy. I think the biggest thing with storage, that's your biggest enemy is more supply. So if you can get barriers to entry where towns don't want you to build more.
Yeah. That's what you want.
That's what you love. Yeah. Lots of residential housing, lots of businesses, and no availability of storage.
Yeah. How's Vegas right now?
Vegas is competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got
a lot.
Biggest players in the country wanting to be here.
Got it.
Yeah.
So do you try to target less competitive markets?
I do. Yeah. I like suburban towns, tertiary towns. That's why I went back east where I'm originally from. College towns, manufacturing towns. You don't want no people there, but you don't need a lot of people, 30, 50,000, 80,000 people.
That's good enough.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. It's interesting too. Like with wholesaling, I was doing an analysis yesterday, actually. So, we generate leads for our students now, and that's just part of our coaching program. And these leads are nationwide because that's a great way to get the costs down versus like, hey, if we want to go get leads in Las Vegas, like you said, it's going to be really, really expensive relative to a, tertiary town on the outskirts, right? And so then I just started looking at like, okay, let's start defining the leads that are coming in. Like, what's the population within a 20-mile radius? That's kind of how I started doing it. And majority are over 50,000, which is good. Because in my mind, if you could wholesale, or if there's 50,000 people there, like you could sell a deal.
Yeah.
It's the super rural towns where you don't want to be.
Yeah. I know you have simple diagrams that you teach people with. If in the 1, 3, and 5 mile radius, if you have at least 10,000 people, 30,000 and 50,000 people in your 5, then you got enough people to do business there.
For storage.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So now I guess what's the plan? You partner up with this REIT and you want to exit one day? Well, you said that's kind of not the plan anymore. So like what's the plan?
Yeah, the exit was attractive, yet you look at when you sell, our basis or my basis in the assets, I depreciated everything. It's a huge tax bill, over 50% when you recapture all that tax losses.
Yeah.
And that's not going to cut it.
You've been 1031ing or what?
Well, when bonus depreciation was around 3 years ago, when you could bonus out 100% year one, I mean, that was a game changer. That helped me raise a lot of capital and a lot of people in the industry too.
Because they all wanted that too.
The passive losses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And storage is nice because you have a lot of movable walls. You can consider a lot of it personal property. Year one. Yeah. So we were getting a healthy depreciation loss, sometimes 2 times, 3 times your investment as an investor.
Wow.
And I was an investor, so I was getting the losses as well. So the exit is not as attractive for me. And also,
because everyone's got to recapture.
That's it. We get hit hard. And what I was thinking is if I could sell to a major REIT, you could do a 721 exchange and you could take your equity and transition it into a public REIT. And
I've never heard of a 721.
Yeah. So you don't pay tax. You don't pay the recapture. You transfer your equity for stock.
Yep.
So companies do it all the time, right? When they acquire other companies, you'll get some cash and some stock. Well, you can do that in real estate too. So if you sell your assets into a public REIT, you can actually take your equity and transition it into stock rather than taking the gains and then sell the stock over time. So it's nice.
So let's say you did that, right? You guys took the equity, converted it into stock. You avoid recapture in that scenario.
Yeah.
And then how do you eventually cash out? I mean, you sell stock.
Yeah.
But does the recapture just go away?
It does.
So at that point, it's just, hey, I'm selling stock and I'm going to pay capital gains on the sale of the stock.
That's it. I think you got to hold it a year.
You hold a year so you get long term.
Yep.
And then is all the stock just basically fully taxed because it's like there's no cost of the stock essentially?
Yeah. You don't take your basis, lower.
Yeah, there's no basis anymore.
Exactly.
You got it for free.
Yeah. Well, you bought into it at whatever share price that you ended up negotiating with the equity. And that's what you bought in at.
Oh, okay. So there would still be a basis.
Yeah, there would. You're going to pay a capital gain in there. You're going to buy.
Well, I was thinking the basis was zero with how you were doing it, but the basis isn't zero.
Right. You're going to buy the stock at $150 a share.
Yeah.
You sell it for $200 a share. You're just paying capital gains on what it went up while you owned it.
So let's just say, I'm trying to understand this because maybe one day I'll probably use it. So let's just say you had $10 million in a gain if you were to sell your properties. But then you also had, I don't know, $5 million of recapture.
Yep.
Right? Now you go to the REIT, you basically roll up into the REIT.
Yes.
And they're going to give you 10 million in stock essentially.
Correct.
Is that because, they don't care about the recapture, but you get the benefit of not doing recapture.
That's right. And I'm not a CPA, but yes, this is my finance guys and my CPAs. That is the strategy.
And then now you have 10 million of their stock. And let's say their stock was $100 at that point. Yep. So you get whatever that math is, 10,000 shares, right? So then you start a year later, you sell off, I don't know, let's just say you sell off all 10,000 shares.
Yeah.
And if the stock didn't gain any price, let's say it's still just $100, you wouldn't pay tax?
That's my understanding.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure people will comment on this. But.
Yeah. People comment for all the tax nerds. Let me know what I'm missing here. But that's like a crazy, but I mean, there's lots of, loopholes in the tax code.
Yeah.
But that would be a crazy benefit. I'm just really curious how I'm sure there's something we're both missing, but I mean, it sounds like there's a great path there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
There is. That's why a lot of companies sell for stock rather than taking cash.
Yeah.
That is the 721 exchange in real estate.
But these guys who sell their companies too, they're not even doing real estate companies. So I'm wondering if that exchange is the same. If I don't know, if I was to sell Wealthy Investor, my education company, it's there's no real estate asset. But let's say I roll up into, I don't know, some massive
public company.
Yeah.
Yep.
And all of a sudden they give me stock for it.
Yep.
I guess
that's not a taxable event.
Yeah.
Until you sell the stock.
Right.
It's the same theory.
And they give me stock based on what the stock is worth today and what they're valuing my company at.
That's it. The NAV, the net asset value, whatever it's worth today minus any debt, that's your equity. And you can negotiate. I'll take a portion in cash and you have to pay tax on that. And I'll take the rest of it in stock.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
But you don't hear about it in real estate much. So that's why I'm glad you bring it up like that. It's a unique play because you need a public company. It needs to be, you can't have a private REIT buy you, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess technically too, you could have a non-REIT buy it too if they really just wanted the real estate asset.
Yeah, I think the exchange needs to be with a public security.
Okay.
For some reason, in order to up-REIT, I think they call it up-REIT. And that's what you're doing is you're taking your equity and going into a REIT.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm gonna ask some friends because that's super interesting. Very rarely do I hear something new that I'm like, oh, I've never heard of that. I mean, I've heard of people selling their business and getting stock into the new business that they rolled up into. But I've never heard it on the real estate side into the REIT.
It's common in storage. That's how a lot of big REITs aggregated and acquired all these.
Because there's all this tax benefit for the guys rolling up.
Oh, that's it. That's it. And the stocks have been doing so well over the last 20 years. I mean, these guys made a ton of money. They doubled their money after they sold their asset.
Well, and then it finally does become passive.
Yes. You get your 4 to 6% dividend.
Yeah.
That is passive.
Yeah. You don't have to be a manager anymore. So like if that happens, they take over management. You're done.
Oh yeah. I'm a shareholder. There's nothing there.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. If even if you sell a business, you still usually got to stay on and do a lot of stuff.
No, they want to kick you out and they got their own process.
Wow, that's cool. So that's the goal, is to do that.
Yeah, it's just the industry shifted right now. So, I mean, for me, I'm in it for the long haul because the challenge is, we went off on that tangent, it was good, but I have to start over if I want to keep playing the game.
Yeah, so, what would you do?
Yeah, that's the challenge is you got to lay everyone. I mean, we have 70 employees. So, these management fees and just the managing the capital and the funds, it allows us to continue to do projects. And I would essentially be a small family office and I would just have a couple people on my team, and it wouldn't be the same. I wouldn't be able to go out there and execute on some of these projects.
Yeah, because you'd still want to just continue doing this.
Yeah. I love the game. I love small bay warehouse. We've been pivoting into that a little bit, where we would have commercial contractors, plumbers and HVAC guys and landscapers. They try to rig up the power and work out of their storage unit. And we figured, there's got to be a need for this. So we started building bigger warehouses for small guys like that. And that's been turning up, and the investment community loves those.
Yeah. A warehouse is popping here in Vegas.
Oh yeah.
It's going nuts.
It is all over.
Yeah. Like I look at the price. I'm like, this is the same price as an office building. There's nothing here.
I know.
Like, how is this the same price? It costs way less to build this thing.
I know. Metal doors. Yeah. Warehouse, office, and a bathroom.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And then the mobile home park side is still, I think there's going to be a little bit of an opportunity coming back, because it's tough. It's tough to run those assets.
Is it just because the quality of tenants anywhere?
And the age of the infrastructure is 40, 50 years old.
Yeah, because all those mobiles on there.
Yeah, well, we don't own the mobiles. It's a land lease community, but you got all the water lines, sewer lines, roads, power. But that's a beautiful model. I mean, that business is amazing. So they're not building many more of them. I'm building a few of them right now, and it's a tough challenge. It's very limited supply.
When you do that, are they getting these kind of permanent mobile homes, or are they doing a lot of RVs?
Yeah, I'm glad you say that. When you say mobile home, I mean, 95% of people will never move that home again.
Right.
We bring a brand new home in there. We sell it to some buyer. They get their own financing.
So you guys are putting those new homes in there yourself?
Oh, yeah.
You're not letting people bring transport pieces of crap.
No, that day is over.
Yeah. What is a mobile home? What's a double wide cost these days?
In the Northeast, housing, I look for markets where the housing's at least 3 to 4 times the cost of the mobile home that we'll sell at. So
got it.
Their median home is $400,000 to $500,000 in a lot of these towns, and we're selling our homes for $300,000, but we're buying the home for $150,000 to. We're all in for about $150,000.
So you buy it for $150,000. This is a 1,500 square foot double wide?
Exactly. With the garage. We do a 2-car garage next to it.
Okay.
Real high quality.
So they end up owning the home they buy from you, and then they rent the land.
Correct. For about $700-800 a month. And these are in high end markets, nicer markets.
Yeah.
Now,
if they want to sell, that's always been the interesting thing with these mobile home parks. Like how do they sell if they want to get out?
So it's chattel property. It's personal property. So they would sell the mobile home, and there's specific lenders that will lend, and they can buy the home. The next buyer buys the home, and they sign a lease with us, and they pay the lot rent.
Yeah. So if somebody were to buy it, I mean, they paid you $300,000.
Yeah.
Is it a depreciating asset
for them?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like the next buyer's probably not going to pay $300,000, right? Or will they?
Oh yeah. Affordable housing is such demand, and the quality of the new homes are nice.
Yeah. I guess when you think about like a $500,000 home in that area, it's probably old and beat up. And then they could go get a $300,000 home that's probably nicer.
Really nice. You couldn't tell the difference when you're inside.
But yeah, when you're inside, just the outside looks like a mobile home.
A little bit, yeah. We do the skirting, but now it's vinyl siding, skirting, shingle roof, nice garage. I mean, this isn't the whole mobile home park game. This is just the quality I want to be involved in. I bought a lot of rough, lower income parks.
What do you think's going to happen with building homes in the future? Because, you got 3D printing.
Yeah.
You've got, these cheap things coming out. Tiny homes.
Yeah.
You've got, what's that company that's out here? I forget.
Box.
Yeah, Boxable or whatever. Where do you see affordable housing going?
Man, that's a good question. For me, the tiny home model is not realistic.
It's so small.
It sounds nice, and then it's rich people that like to have a second home in some resort market, and they don't have a washer dryer. They don't have any room for their pets or their kids.
Yeah.
And they go back to their real home when they're done.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I mean, it's not the solution to me. I think HUD is really regulatory. It really prohibits a lot of innovation. I don't know a lot about it, but I know it takes forever to get a HUD approved home.
Yeah.
And a lot of these tiny homes aren't complying with that, and nobody's cracked the code for the last 5 to 10 years that I've seen. So I think mobile homes are still the future. I think it's going to be more dense housing, more apartments, more mobile homes. I don't know about more, but at least they're going to be in demand.
Yeah.
And then, you see it out here. Stick built homes are just packed in as tight as you can fit them.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my students in Hawaii, his name's Daniel. He's been on the show, but he's building these prefab homes in Hawaii, and they're on just normal lots and they own the land and everything else. But these prefab homes don't look like the way I envision like a double wide mobile home. Like they look like a stick build home, but they're prefab, and you can't tell the difference. But the difference is they're cheaper to build, and the permit's already approved.
Yes.
So the city's like, oh, you're going to do that model? Okay, cool. That's good. You can start.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I built a prefab home up in the Northeast, and my cost was damn near as much as a brand new build home.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't seen anyone crack the code that the prefab costs aren't made for affordable housing.
Yeah, well, and Hawaii is not about affordable housing.
Right.
Yeah, these are affordable in Hawaii.
Yes. I have never seen an affordable prefab home at this stage. And I think you're right. It's going to get to 3D printing, or it's going to be a pre-manufactured box somehow that gets to the site and you can easily install it.
Yeah, because that's the thing, right? You have two problems in real estate, especially with affordable housing. One is the time frame that it takes.
Yes.
Right? And time frame is lots of things. It's the permit process, it's the city, it's the manufacturer, it's the labor.
Yes.
Like all of these affect the time frame.
Oh yeah.
And so, in my eyes, it's like 3D printing has to be the thing, because these machines could build a home probably in a day, like in the future.
Oh, I know.
Right? So your timing is now good. And then just cost. And it's like, to your point, from what you've seen on the prefab, the cost is the same still as a stick build. They might be faster, but the cost is the same.
Yes.
Whereas a mobile home cost is going to be less. But man, if the 3D printing goes, the cost could be lower too.
Yeah.
So then you get speed and cost. And that's kind of what my belief is, technology wise, that will happen.
Yeah. The problem of living in a democracy, I love it, but it's so inefficient.
Yeah.
There's so many competing interests that don't want that model, or there's so much red tape to get to that model.
Yeah. What's D.R. Horton and the REITs and everyone going to do about
They ain't
going to be happy about that.
And all you need to do is influence someone in local government to prohibit that zoning permit, and nothing gets done. So real estate inefficiency is the opportunity to get an edge, but it's also such a pain in the ass when you're a developer, you're trying to do something innovative.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we were talking a little bit pre-show, but obviously it's amazing what you've been able to accomplish and where things are headed. But you also did talk about too, just growing up in rough neighborhood, around the wrong people, being in Vegas. There's so much temptation, everything else. Like,
real estate investors, I found a brand new way to create cash flow that's better than anything else I've ever done. It's better than rental properties, Airbnb, my flipping business, multifamily. It's the best thing we've done yet. It is building an automated wholesale business. Now you might be saying, Ryan, how do you build an automated wholesale business? Well, what if you had the same exact leads that I get every single month? What if you had a sales script that was so easy to close deals over the phone that you could do it all across the country? And what if you could sell your deals directly on the MLS without a real estate license and without having to actually own the property and getting top dollar? Well, we do that with this new method. And I made an 11-minute video where I go over how it all works, how you can start doing it today. So if you want to go see that video, go to wealthyinvestor.com, go click the case study and see what I'm talking about.
Tell me a little bit about your background of all the things you were going through. Like, people see the success, but personally, what was happening while you were going through all this?
Man, it's a good question, because right now it's been a transformation where at 43 and doing this 20 something years, it's like the money's not doing it anymore. It's not fulfilling. And there's a whole, every day's a grind. And I don't want to feel that way. In the beginning, when everything was a grind, there was still hope that it's not going to be a grind. And now, probably like, I was watching Aaron Rodgers' documentary. You win the Super Bowl, when you're done, there's still something left. I don't know what it is, but that didn't make me happy.
Yep.
So I'm sure we all go through this crisis at some point. If you're an achiever pursuing success, for me, I started to realize like what's truly important, and what's important, and what I believe is the relationships, the spiritual connection, and then also like accepting myself, being kind to myself, being kind to others, not resisting so much. As a type A driver, you want to perform, right?
Yeah.
And you're very competitive, and you grew up playing sports and you're a high achiever. There's that ego side that's always chattering, assessing, calculating that I'm going to get screwed here. I need to watch out for this person. You could be better than that. And it's so exhausting that I got to this point where my relationship was falling apart with the girl I was with. My family, I had no good connection with my family. I haven't seen my friends in a while. I didn't do many hobbies at all. I would train MMA or working out, but it was just to blow off steam. And I quit drinking years ago because that got out of hand here in Vegas.
Yep.
And the relationships in the past I had were so shallow. I never really had a true connection with a woman in my life. And I started to think, like, this isn't working. Like, I don't care what the payoff is because there's no payoff to this. Yeah. And that's where I dove into working on trauma and figuring out. I went to a conference in LA or a seminar with Gabor Mate, and he's a clinical psychologist. It really opened up my eyes that I always played as a man. Like, I had a good childhood. Like, there's no trauma here,
Yeah.
And it's so naive because I maybe didn't get molested or have a major trauma.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in there that create a lot of fear and anxiety. And modeling my parents were 17 and 20 when they had me.
Wow.
And they got divorced when I was a little kid, and we moved out this way, and there was financial hardship, and just like a lot of people out there. And actually though, figuring out, wait, like, I'm playing out my life similar to my dad and my mom, where I embodied a lot of these fears and emotions, and I'm just running on autopilot, and I'm not even making a choice. Every choice I make is out of fear and not love.
Yeah.
And that sounds kind of airy fairy, but not. I was tired of it. Like, I have to make a shift, and that was like breaking myself down. This was just like losing everything in the beginning, or going through the process of trying to make that sale and hanging on to that and trying to close it. And right now, it was about really stripping down all of this crap of trying to be more, do more, have more, get more, and have fit in. And I'm not expressing myself. I'm not actually being authentic. I don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
So that it's been a crazy journey, and I've explored meditation. I've explored spiritual scriptures through religion, through all types of spiritual teachers. And I've always been attracted to this, but now it's like, it's very visceral when I'm living it, when this feeling is coming out and I'm acknowledging, and I can't bury it with some other thing that's going to make me more happy in the moment, like a girl or like a deal or like more money and opportunity or material stuff.
Yeah.
And I did a few psilocybin journeys, and they really opened up my eyes of what's going on inside. How do I really feel, and why is there fear? Why am I afraid of myself? That blew my mind, that I was unlocking something that was inside me that I knew it was there, but I wasn't really acknowledging that I'm living a life of anxiety and tension and fear.
Yeah. So, I mean, going through all of this, right? It's interesting because, as high achievers and athletes and everything else, we just kind of force ourselves to just keep pushing forward, regardless of how we feel, regardless of the cost, regardless of, anything, right? And so it's like, successful people will find a way to be successful regardless of their circumstance. You could go throw them on a deserted island and they'll figure out how to make it work.
That's right.
They might figure out how to get off the island. They might go build a city. They might, they'll figure out something,
they
right? And so it's like a pro and a con. It's like the ability to suppress emotions, suppress feelings, and just push forward.
Yes.
But on the flip side, while we're doing all that, it's like, man, okay, like there's a cost to this suppression, this whatever, or this coping mechanism of like, oh, I'm starting to feel this way. Well, last time, when I got a deal, I felt better. So let me go get a deal.
Right.
Or this girl, or this drink, or this drug, or this thing. And, obviously it's not healthy.
Yeah.
But it just takes time to realize that. And it also takes perspective of having all the things you desire to get and it's still not being enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you create a prison, or I created a prison So it was this idea of like, I was going to get freedom.
Yeah.
Right. We all get in this in real estate and business. I'm going to have freedom. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. And then I started to look at what is freedom? Like if I'm constantly chasing the next thing, am I really free?
Yeah.
And that to me, where I'm anxious and I'm sitting and I'm all myself and I don't enjoy my own company, I'm always codependent on some other girl.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's a lot of things I've learned around that with relationship with my mother and parents. And I'm realized there's no, like, how am I going to be free where money's not going to solve the problem? Achievement's not going to solve the problem. No one else is going to solve the problem. So that was the start. That was really something where I think it's a beautiful journey to go through, and I don't have it figured out, man. I just know that this has changed my life where I am not my job. I'm not my work. I'm not the relationship I'm in. I'm not any material things that I've achieved.
Yeah.
And that's a tough pill to swallow because you grow up and if you're not winning, you're losing. And that identity hurts. And that goes for sports, for business, for status, you know, so that's something where it's almost like, I mean, you're a baseball guy. When you hit a baseball and you try to force it, you can't really hit the ball right.
Yeah.
Right. Or
you're worse.
It's the worst. So when it's about letting go, but still feeling connected. And, that's something that I think there's some answer to this. There's something in that of letting go.
Yeah. So, you know, for me, I talk about faith a lot, you know, and I grew up as a Christian. And so for me, I was taught from an early age about identity. And for Christians, you know, we believe that our identity is in Christ. And so the good thing with that is, you know, Jesus doesn't change, but we change. Right. And so even though the world has ups and downs, even though business has ups and downs, social media has ups and downs, I could have haters, I could have this, deals fall apart, capital calls, everything going wrong, interest rates double, right? Like everything could be going wrong in the world. But, you know, if my identity is in my deal or my career or my followers or anything else, then I'm always going to live a life like this.
Yes.
And, you know, for me, I've been pretty even keeled my whole life just because I knew that at the end of the day, if my identity's in Christ, then that means his promises are real. Like my life's going to be good no matter what happens. One of my favorite verses is Romans 8:28, that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purpose. So for me, it's like in all things, the good, the bad, he's working for my good.
Yeah.
And I've always leaned on that. And it's always kept me pretty level-headed regardless of the situation. And also like humble when things are good.
Yeah.
And then also like optimistic when things are bad.
Yes.
And you know, I just have never found anything else that compares.
Yeah.
Because like you, I mean, I've accomplished so many goals and I still feel the same way you feel. Even though I came from a different background in that, all right, cool. We did the deal. Like whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
on
like,
to the next.
We had a great exit. Cool. You know, this event was a huge success. Awesome. All right. When's the next one?
That's it.
Like it's still like the result is still the same. Even if you're a Christian in that, you're probably not going to feel like the thing you just accomplished was that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Even though it's this big deal leading up to it. But once you reach it, you're like, oh, okay. But I think the difference is I would say expecting like, yeah, you know, this is great. This is just part of what I do. And, you know, I'm here for a bigger purpose. Yeah. And I know that, well, I guess I would say I've been thinking a lot about this and talking to business people about it, but it's like, I guess the difference is when we're on this journey to accomplish a lot and we keep doing it, it's usually towards the end of our life that we realize like, oh man, like I'm about to die, you know, like now what? All of it's kind of useless in the last days. You know, It's awesome that I've accomplished all this, but what's next? And so I think the difference maybe for really strong believers is that it's like, oh, we know what's next. We're actually preparing for the end result, not everything in between. It's like whatever happens in between from here to the point that I die and I got to face God on Judgment Day. It's just like, I already know what the result is. And so it's a different way of thinking versus this idea of maybe just being constantly in the moment, trying to figure out what's the next thing, what's my next purpose, what's my next outcome that I'm looking for. Because like you can keep just doing that throughout life, but then eventually you finally get to the end of life and then you got to answer the same question.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah, it resonates a lot what you say. I grew up a Christian and went to, my dad's Catholic, my mom was Lutheran.
Yeah.
Had a really good pastor here in Vegas. And I see it like we all have a relationship with God if we like it or not.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different ways to tap into that relationship. And you can't lie. Like there's nothing, you can't fake that relationship with God. And that you might not even know it. It's that relationship with yourself and all living things and everything that's in every living person. Mm-hmm. Like you have to, at some point, like you said, with some judgment, at Judgment Day, that you have to face yourself.
Yeah.
And God is in you and me and everyone else and every living thing. And if you lie to yourself, like you're the one that's living that pain.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, this is out there, but that the experience with psilocybin was really powerful, that there was this connection to a deeper living thing out there. Like there is a sounds crazy. Like there is a feminine, there is a love, there is a connection to all living things, and there's the masculine, but there is this light, there is this electricity, there is this God, whatever that is, in all things. And there is this other world out there that I want to shut off. It's so powerful. There's so much light and love and power that we're taught to just suppress it, to shut it down. Don't stand out. Don't really challenge your beliefs. Don't challenge the status.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that connection to God and why people have been doing it for however long people have evolved, 10,000 years of just understanding and learning and have this relationship with God is so important for everyone to explore that. And worldly things will pull you away from it all the time.
Yeah.
And even other people, like the answer is not in other people. The answer is only inside you with that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell people, like, we're, as business people, we like to reverse engineer things.
Right.
Like, oh, what's the goal? Okay, the goal is we want to have this exit. We want to have this many assets, this much revenue, whatever, right? Cash flow. And I go, okay, like, so we naturally do that. And we make yearly plans, 5-year plans, quarterly plans, right? But I go, the only guarantee is death. There's no guarantee you'll be here 5 years from now, 1 year from now, whatever, right? But we are guaranteed to die.
Oh, yeah.
And so what we really should be reverse engineering is death. If you were to logically really think about it. You're like, yeah, actually, if that's the guarantee and I don't know when it's happening, I should probably know what I believe right now. Because if I just kind of like leave that ambiguous, I'm like, oh, well, I got plenty of time. I'll address that later when it comes. It's like, that's probably not too smart because it could come at any moment.
Yes.
But also too, depending on what you believe, there's just different results, right? Yeah. Because, Christians believe one thing, Muslims believe another thing, these guys believe another thing. Some people, there's atheists, there's everything. And it's like, well, they all can't be right? Because some say, no, I'm the only thing. Jesus said, I'm the only way, right? So it's like, well, clearly there's something that you have to, if you choose to believe they're all right, it's just universalism. That's just, that's another belief system. Right. And so I just tell people, I'm like, regardless of what you choose to believe, don't ignore it and just think it's not that important. Because in reality, it's far more important than your yearly goal.
Oh yeah.
For your business and everything else. If you solve for that from the gate, if you're like, yo, this is like, I'm reverse engineering from my eternity, then everything else in between becomes a much clearer path.
Yeah, I love that idea. I love what you brought up about reverse engineering death. And I think in the spiritual scriptures, like I don't know about Christianity as much, but I'm sure in every spiritual scripture, it's you're constantly pursuing death, like meditation, prayer, deep prayer. You are touching on losing yourself to death. And that's what we, even as entrepreneurs, we're we want to achieve, we want to push it to the limits because we want to touch on death.
Yeah.
And the closer we can get to that relationship with death, the closer we can get to this connection with all that is. I mean, when we die, who knows what happens, but we're connected to everything at some way. Energy just transfers.
Yep.
So there's something to where people can explore that idea and meditate on it and do things that are uncomfortable, that suffering, there's meaning in suffering, right?
Yeah.
The great, like Jesus's, I mean, that was his process.
Yeah.
And there's a message there. So I think people want to run away from the suffering. They want to cover it up and hide it. Yeah. And there's something around that where if I can embrace the suffering and feel it, there is a message from God in that.
Yeah. Actually, I do want to bring up something you just said about suffering, which is really important. A lot of people try to avoid suffering.
Oh, yeah.
And we know that, through doing hard things, you get the best results, right? It's like, if you want to be in shape, you got to suffer. You got to put your body through a lot of stress, hard work, and you do it, right? And when you're cold calling for 10 years straight, you're putting yourself through a form of suffering. But the thing is, even though technically it's suffering, you can still find joy through the suffering. And this is what Jesus talks about. He's like, when you follow me, guess what? You're now going to suffer. Like, it's not just eternal bliss and peace and all this stuff the rest of your life because you're now following me. He's like, no. You're actually going to face more persecution, more everything, but you can still have peace and joy through the suffering, and it's just this thing where people want to avoid pain. They want to avoid suffering when in reality, we just have to learn how to deal with it differently.
Yeah. And it's so easy to believe that because I suffered in my physical body and you've achieved, you're great at sports, or you're good at your health isn't dialed in, or you're great at business and you can outwork anybody in your niche or arena. The beautiful thing about God or whatever it is that's setting up this whole universe is there's another area of your life that there's so much suffering that you can still engage in, like your relationships of being vulnerable with someone.
Yeah.
And you can't control that situation with that person, and truly accepting people for who they are, or that relationship with God, and being able to actually acknowledge that this is not fun right now. This emotion, this feeling, this, sitting in prayer, like I'd rather go do something else like that. You have to deal with that.
Yeah. People can't even deal with their own thoughts.
No.
Yeah,
like I have challenges.
Like I personally love sitting in silence and just praying and marinating on my thoughts and what's going on. But most people, man, they've literally never sat with themselves for more than 5 minutes before being like, all right, I got to go scroll. I got to, whatever.
Right. And there's all the upside is in that suffering. And like you said, it doesn't need to be suffering. There can be, it feels painful, but everything that has value is you have to go through suffering in order to
there's
value.
Nothing that's just pure. All right, cool. We're going to go build the business.
Yeah.
Sweet. It's built.
Yeah.
That was nice.
And
that was easy.
You don't value it.
Yeah.
Even if,
hey, I'm in shape. Great. Like I there was nothing. It was just weird. I was in shape.
Yeah.
Oh, my marriage is great. Like, it's weird. I just do whatever I want. And she accepts it. It's like, no, that's not how any of this goes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love people that pursue the uncomfortable situation, the uncertainty. If you fast for a while, or you sit in a cold plunge, or you're doing a 100-mile run, or whatever people do, they want to feel that because there's a message. There's something inside that the only thing you get the benefit of it, right? You get the journey is what you get to actually get the gift.
Yeah.
It's not the achievement.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing though. It's easy to say right now, and it's on a podcast and it sounds good, and it's all on the internet. Everybody says this type of stuff, but to sit there and be in the discomfort when no one's watching, no one cares, you're not going to get acknowledged for it, and you do the right thing for yourself in your own integrity. And, you seem like you live a really good life. You step up and take care of people,
but it's hard.
Right. And sometimes we don't take care of ourselves. Sometimes you're taking care of everybody else.
Yeah.
So I think as a man, we have that challenge where, we're expected as a man, you make sure everyone's happy. You take care of your parents, your wife, your kids. And sometimes you get lost, or I got lost, where it's like, okay, well, what do I really want?
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess for you, I mean, obviously you're working on yourself personally, and that's been a big area of growth. But even to go back to the business side of things, where do you think like your biggest need is to really take that to the next level? What would you say is the biggest bottleneck
right now?
Yeah.
Well, one reason I respect you so much is marketing.
Yeah.
I think for me, a lot of the other areas I dialed in, and I have a strong product, good strategy, great team.
It's funny. Your ops was the thing that you sucked at. And now it's like your strength. You guys are building, developing, automating.
It is. Yeah. We invested a lot into EOS, the system there to manage the business, been dedicated to it, hired up, gave a lot of equity away to get the right A players.
Yeah.
And for me,
so now it's marketing.
It is. Yeah. Learning that, where I think a lot of people in our industry can be really good at looking good on the surface, but yet, underneath it all, there's not a lot of substance in their fund or their assets or their partnerships. And we all have challenges.
Yeah.
It's just, how do you deal with those challenges? But yet I think that it's packaged really pretty, and the substance is lacking.
Yeah.
And for me, I would like to package myself a little bit prettier, that way I can show off my substance.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you guys got a lot going on. So, I mean, on the marketing side, is it to just get more investors, or what would you say is the main goal?
Yeah, ultimately build relationships with people that want to invest and educate more sophisticated investors. We're doing some events on tax planning and asset protection, and I'm coming out with another book, The Tax Edge, The Real Estate Tax Edge. So it's really helping people grow their wealth that already have experience in real estate, but they want to take it to another level with investing in commercial real estate.
Okay. So where would somebody find one of those events, or even get in touch with you guys if they're interested in investing?
Yeah, patriotholdings.com. And it's Jeremiah Boucher. I'm sure we can do it in the link there, but on all the social media channels.
Okay.
The event is the Real Estate Edge. So live.
Do you have a date yet?
I did one last year in San Diego. So not yet. I think it'll be in September here in Vegas.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. For me, it's just providing high level information that can help people compound wealth through using the right tax benefits that we get here and making good decisions in their real estate investing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think on the marketing side, if I was you, I would take this podcast, because we talked a lot about your story and just what you guys do, and just really make sure it's in all of your materials. I mean, sure, to acquire potential investors, but also too, like people who are already in your database, I would definitely send them this, because now it's like, okay, I understand who Jeremiah is now better. Like before I kind of have an idea of what they're doing, but now it's like, oh dang, like I can relate to this guy's story. He did some of the same things I've been through personally.
Right.
Like, and that's what I found with marketing. At the end of the day, we're all looking for a result, right? And so the best marketers really talk about the result. So it's like, hey, you want to get into, it's not that like people want to get into real estate investing. It's that people want the result of real estate investing.
Right.
Hey, I want cash flow. Hey, I want to build wealth. Hey, I want a tax write-off. Like, it's the result. And so good marketers do a really good job of highlighting the results. Hey, you want to make $10,000. Hey, you want to, make 6 figures a year, right? You want to become a millionaire. Like, let's highlight the result of the investing.
Yes.
But I think the best people who build brand not only are really good at marketing the result, but they're really good at building the personal attachment as well. And that's what gets people to, buy from you or invest with you, because it's like, there's a million syndicators, right? There's a million self-storage guys. There's a million guys on the internet. So like, why would they do business with me or with you? Well, the result is going to be the same either way, theoretically. Let's just say apples to apples. They can invest with you and get a X return, but they could also do it with this guy and get that return or whatever, right?
Right.
But if they can personally connect with you, then they're going to pick you.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference with what makes a good marketer versus a great one.
Yeah. And I've noticed you've done that, right? You create an emotional connection to the audience because you open up and you share your life.
Yeah. And it's not even like that. It's, I would say, let's just say manipulation to get the end result. It's just like, it's also easier that way.
Yeah.
Because what some people do is they try to hide their personal beliefs.
Right.
And make it all about the result, the business, the job, whatever, right? And it's like, oh yeah, real estate's this. Here's how to do X, Y, Z, boom, boom, boom. But it's like, that gets boring.
Right.
Right. I can't talk for an hour and not mention things that are going on in my life. Like,
right.
We're just going to strictly talk tactics and be a robot.
Right.
That's boring. And so people resonate with stories. They resonate with people who share similar beliefs. That's why, like, for me, I don't try to portray anything that I'm not. I'm like, this is what I believe. This is, what I do. This is what I enjoy doing. I like playing sports. I got a family. I love Jesus. I do a lot of things, but, some of those things may resonate with somebody and some of them may turn somebody off. And either way, it's all good.
Yeah.
Because you just don't want to change who you are to appeal to other people. Just be who you are and let those who like that come.
Yeah. And you got to know who you are.
Yeah. Well, that's the hard part. A lot of people don't even know who they are. Yeah. They've just been kind of like, who am I again? Somebody tell me what I should do. It's like, no, bro, like, what do you, I'll do that in coaching calls. I'll be like, so tell me about your life. What do you do? And they're like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't have anything. I'm like, dude, you have beliefs. Like, what are they? Well, I don't want to offend people. You're not. Like, people who, do you even want to work with people who have differing beliefs than you? Like, at the end of the day,
right.
It's just, it creates an even bigger headache.
Yeah. Yeah. And people, it's good to actually have conflict because that challenges other people's beliefs. They can learn their own if you express yours.
Exactly.
The fact that they don't like it, okay, then you do like something.
Yeah, exactly. So if you guys obviously like get better at marketing, you'll be able to raise more capital. Do you like, how's your deal flow? Would you have enough deal flow to handle it?
Well, when we've met with institutions, they want to give you 50, 100 million minimum or more.
Okay.
And self-storage and mobile home parks, it's tough. You're doing $3 to $5 million deals. So I couldn't take on that much capital that quickly.
No, because you'd have to do too many deals.
Yeah. And you'd be doing poor quality in order to get there. So just slow and steady. My goal this year is minimum 25 million. Each fund is 25 million raise. But I think up to 50 to 100 million over the next year or two, I think I could deploy it the proper ways, because there is opportunity right now. The good thing about the interest rates being close to 7 and about, rent growth not really going up and commercial real estate's going through some tough times is a lot of the private equity firms, the family offices, the syndicators, they're kind of falling away.
Yeah.
Because it's not sexy right now. It's not generating a lot of returns. Investors aren't really focusing on commercial real estate like they were 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Stock market did really well over the last 12 months. Crypto still killing it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other
people are looking at those options right now.
And fixed income, right? You're still getting 4%, 4.5% in the bank on your money market.
Yep.
So, and the tax benefits weren't as robust as they were. So I love it. I love the time. These are the times where I'm actually
finding less competition.
Less competition, yeah. And I can hire some really good people.
Yeah. Let's talk about just the commercial market because it is really hard. For me, like we've raised capital and most of our deals are good, but we got one pain in the butt deal.
Yeah.
And dude, it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of headache. It's harder to raise money. It's harder to find deals that pencil with, because it's not like the cap rates have really changed that much. Like from what I see, like
that's right.
It's like, man, okay, well, if the cap rates are the same and rates are now way higher, cost of capital is way higher. It's like, how do you even buy a deal? Like, what are you seeing and predicting?
Well, I'm glad that you're patient because so many people that are in the capital raising space, for that reason, they say, I have to go buy a deal. I have the funds. Like you can go out and raise a lot of money. You have a huge audience.
Yeah.
And then you get in this flywheel of, I got to raise more money to buy more deals to get the fees.
Yeah, so you start taking bad deals.
That's it. Yeah. You compromise. So if you can, that's one reason I didn't want to sell the portfolio is if I have a existing cash flow of fees that come in, just managing the assets and I can support my team, I don't have to keep doing deals just to keep the doors open.
Yeah. A lot of people do.
Private equity, that is a major piece of it. So for me in this day and age of the challenges to do a deal, it's really making sure that you continue to raise responsibly. I mean, you're not just raising money for the sake of it, and you don't have to call the capital. So for me in my marketing, it's just getting the relationships built up where the deals are coming, but I don't need to sit.
I don't need your money right now.
That's it. But when we need it, this is real. And this is, we call the capital, and that's where you got to close quick.
Yeah.
You got to execute when others can't. So if I can build up that war chest of commitments and relationships with people, then it's really about, just like we started this whole podcast with, it's cold calling, it's outreach, it's marketing.
Just doing all the same stuff.
Yeah. And it's really exploring where that opportunity will come next. And in every asset class, it's there. But for me, it's just hitting the phones, and it's a 10-year journey for these people that want to sell. I mean, I've talked to the same people for 10 years.
Wow, and that much follow-up.
Oh yeah. And they remember me, and they say, they give me a call sometimes, and they're ready to go.
Wow. Talk about follow-up, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's still going. Yeah.
It's still going.
Still going.
How big is you? And you're still the sales guy on some of these?
I'll get in on the negotiation at the very end.
Yeah.
I got five guys.
They're doing what you used to do.
That's it.
Just cold calling these sellers.
That's it.
Is that the main strategy for commercial?
Yeah, it still is. It's tougher, but now if you can text, if you could do some ringless voicemails, some emails, you got to be full court press on the people.
Basically hammer everyone every way.
That's it. And filter out the list. I mean, your data is everything now.
Yeah. So you got these guys you've been following up with for 5 to 10 years. And it's like, hey, these are our guys. We got to just stay in front of them and send them something, every month or whatever to be top of mind.
Yeah. Every quarter, every 6 months. Yeah. Just checking in with them. And it's tough because when the market got hot, you'd have some new guy or a new fund come in and
offer them crazy.
That's it. And I've been talking to the same guy for 10 years, and last minute, it gets swooped up, or a broker lists it for 40% higher and they get 20% higher than we offered. And
yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's it. Can't hang on to it. Can't worry about it. But I've actually had some of those people reinvest. So they sold, they liked what we do. They said, I do have some tax issues. I'll invest back in some of your funds.
Wow.
So you can't always dismiss.
Yeah. I mean, those guys are all, they're deal guys.
Yeah.
They own real estate.
They like the asset class.
Yeah. So, and they're getting a windfall of money. So the next logical thing is, what do I do with it?
Yeah. That's it. The reps. You got to do these reps though. When you said, what do you do right now? You do it. I mean, you do content like crazy. You told me this with the advice before the show. It's just, you just keep doing the reps over and over and over and over. And then the results happen. So for us, it's data, calls, LOIs, negotiation. I mean, over and over and over. And it comes. I mean, you just find the right situation. And it's not like we get a steal of a deal or take advantage of someone. They mismanage it. They don't want to deal with it. They want the relationship and the trust, because we're not going to retrade them last minute. In commercial, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
People get all dead set on they're going to close their deal. They're counting the cash, and people pull it at the last minute. So we execute.
What's it like dealing with investor relations at a high level, right? I mean, we've gone through a market cycle where really no one's expectations have been hit in the market. With rates being where they're at, people not being able to exit when they were hoping to exit, capital calls, all that stuff. Like, what's it like dealing with it at a high level?
Man, that's a good question, because that's one where in the real estate partnership fundraising space, it's uncomfortable for a lot of people. We got 300 investors. I started out, like you said, with none. And I have to say is, for me, it's like putting my money where my mouth is. And you shared this where you had some challenges on some assets. Yeah. You don't do the capital call. Yeah. You do whatever it takes to take care of the asset. Yeah. And I know not every investor can do this. Right. But I've been passively invested in friends and other people's companies or projects. They just lose the money. Hey, sorry. But, this is what happened. We got diluted, or it didn't go right. Yeah. And I just don't feel good about that. Like, it's a huge responsibility to manage someone's money. Yeah. And there's a lot of pressure with that. And I think there's a lot of people out there promoting just raise a fund or buy some commercial real estate and raise this money. And I don't think the sponsor or the partner, the general partner, really, really understands this is what you're taking on. Yeah. And I never felt comfortable about raising tons of money right away if I really didn't understand what I was doing. Yeah. Maybe it slowed my growth down and took a longer period of time. Yeah. But for me, it was like taking the baby steps to get there. So dealing with investors, I think the best thing to do is share the bad news.
Yeah.
Like, so
be transparent.
That's it. Like, I'd rather just know, like, oh, there was no distributions here. Well, this is why. This is what we're going to do to remedy it. And this is our target. This is where we're going to go to get there. And if you don't have that insight as the leader and you can't share that, there's no confidence in you. The worst thing you could do is disappear.
Yeah.
Especially with my money with other people. If I don't hear from you, that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
So it's been very important that my investor relations team, quarterly, we do our quarterly reports.
Yep.
I do the updated video on every asset or every fund that we have, and make sure to share good or bad news. This is what's going on.
Yeah.
And this is our goal. We're going to. And we had huge wins and people love it. And then I've had losses where it didn't work. And the beautiful thing is I didn't put that back on the investor, where I sold 2 of my houses, one of them in San Diego, one of them in New Hampshire, so I could make sure to fund additional costs for some of these partnerships that I'm in to not burden the investor, because I committed to this and I'm going to stick with it. And then I had a deal when I first started out. I bought a little mobile home park up in Indian Springs, about 45 minutes away up in here in Vegas.
Yep.
And I made a mistake. I bought the wrong asset. It was rough. I mean, there was bad crackheads there. It was a rough go.
Yeah.
And I found some investors out of Seattle at a conference. They work for Amazon and Microsoft. And they put up 70 grand and believed in me. And I failed. And I was able to luckily sell the asset at a discount, but the owner carried the note and they discounted the note.
Yeah.
But I didn't make any money. And for 3 years, I went in there and I put my money up and gave them their money back.
Yep.
And worked my butt off, but they were made whole.
Yeah.
They didn't talk to me for about a year or two.
Yeah. They're still not going to be happy.
But I stayed in touch with them.
Yeah.
And they actually they've in their network and their friends have invested over $15 million with me now, because they said, you know what? You made a mistake, but you made it right. Yeah. And you did what you said you're going to do. And that means more to us than big returns. Yeah. Because then we can trust you.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is, obviously as you be in business a long time and you do bigger and bigger deals and more volume of things, you're going to have failures along the way. And I've had many failures, deals that have lost money, things that didn't work out. And all I've ever tried to do is just make the best of the situation.
Yes.
With whatever resources we had available, but also too, just with whatever expectations were set going into it. Right. And, on the house flipping side, it's been awesome that I've been in it for 10 years now. We've done over $100 million of deals that we've bought and sold. And most have been winners, but we've had a bunch of losers along the way, but an investor never lost money. Yeah. I always paid it out of my own money to get it done. And then, like I said, just for me going into this syndication game, I've been funding things and, just keeping deals going that haven't been great. But doing everything possible. And just like what you've been doing, it's like, guys, I mean, this one's not going great. I mean, it is what it is. We're going to keep trying everything possible. But, that's the market. That's real estate. That's this class. This, it is what it is. Yeah. That's kind of just what I tell. I'm like, it just is what it is.
And inflation will always win.
Yeah.
I mean, the rents will go up, the value will go up. And the fact you put your money where your mouth is, if I were your partner and you handled that and you said that and you're dealing with it and you got a plan to turn it around, that's all I could ask for. Yeah. I mean, there's no guarantees. We're all, this is investing. Yeah. This isn't.
Yeah. There's no guarantee in anything in life.
No, but you took the risk and you want the upside. So we all are taking the ride.
Yeah. It's an investing. It's investing.
It is.
And that's the one thing I've realized too over the years. It's like when you start dealing with smart people, they get it. There's like, yeah, I mean, an investment's an investment. Like even, you said you invest in some of your friends' stuff. And some of it didn't work out. Yeah. But I'm sure you're like, hey, whatever. I chose to invest in it.
Yeah.
All good.
I don't hate that guy or multiple guys, I mean, as long as they handled the situation properly and they were honest with me, and they were, then it's my loss. It's okay.
I chose to invest. I'm a big boy. Yeah. I've realized it now makes sense why accredited investors exist.
Yes.
Because, if you go non-accredited, most don't think that way.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's it's something. It is something. I think for talking about losing money, getting money, I don't know. I think it's I don't know where I was going with it, but we can cut it out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. But dude, I've had a ton of fun talking with you on this show, man.
I got my thought. Okay. So Ryan, with this is, my idea is what I've seen over 20 years here is you're betting the jockey, not the horse.
Yeah.
Right. So the horse is the asset. It's the industry. It's the timing. It's and ultimately, as a passive investor, you got no control. That's the one thing as entrepreneurs, business owners, wealthy people, you got to give up the one thing you don't want to do is control.
Yep.
But you get all the leverage. So if someone does good for you, you make a ton of money and you didn't do anything. You just put your money up for it. So I've been thinking about this a lot. And when I vet people that want me to invest in their project, it's like, number one, can you explain what you're doing? And does it make sense? Like a lot of people can't even explain what their company does or what the deal does itself. Very simple.
Yeah.
Number two is like, what do you have into it yourself? What do you have at risk? Right? If you have money on the line, your credit on the line, your friends and family money on the line, then you're probably pretty committed to this thing.
Yep.
Like the third thing is like, what else are you working on? And if you have a million different companies or things and you're just starting out, like I don't want someone that's not focused on this one thing. Fourth thing is like, tell me about a failure. And if they won't tell me about a failure and they say I've never failed before, I don't want to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just that's not going to work. You're going to encounter failure and you got to deal with it.
Yep.
Next thing is who's on your team and why'd you pick them?
Yeah.
If they don't have a good team and nobody wants to follow them and they can't execute, like they can't do it on their own.
Yeah.
And then it's like, last thing is, are they willing to die on the horse to get the damn thing successful?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, and that's a gut play. That's an intuition. There's a lot of people, I grew up out here, you grew up out here, there's a lot of fast moving people that know what they're talking about, or they say they know what they're talking about, and it's flashy and it's exciting and there's a new idea. And then they're gone in 3 years.
Yeah.
Mortgage companies, deal guys, developers here today, gone tomorrow. And it's like, does that person have the integrity to stick with this sucker when it's not fun? They're not making money. So that was my point I wanted to bring up.
No, I love it. Well, bro, I've learned a ton chatting with you, man. Where can people just follow you, invest, all that again? Yeah,
patriotholdings.com, Jeremiah Boucher. LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, trying to blow up my channel like you a little bit.
There we go.
Yep.
Well, cool, man. Well, I'm excited for you, dude. Guys, go check him out. Go see what he's up to. And thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Thanks.